Welcome back to Nerd Thug Radio.
I was running.
You were running.
I'm very tired now.
Wake up. Run for your life with me.
I don't think I'd get very far, though.
You wouldn't. I'm the Captain Joey Savage.
Corey DLG.
Nico DLG.
This segment we said we're joined by our friend Colt45. And ahead of the Casual Sexy Gamer segment, we have Kylan with us as well.
Stopping by.
We've got some fun YouTube gaming type stuff to talk about. So we said,
built like a super panel.
So we got the panel. We got the band together. The band is together.
Which one of you?
Is this like the Avengers of Nerd Thug Radio?
No. You just ruined it. I said band.
You're like
B-A-N-D band.
It's like crossover.
It's like if the Avengers ran out of like the good superheroes and they got their intern to hold like Iron Man's armor up, and then you.
Yeah.
If we were a band,
I'm my own superhero. That's why you couldn't answer that.
I just figured it out.
Right.
If this was the band, I'd be the drummer.
Okay.
Corey, you'd be like the lead guitar player who also sings.
Respect Van Halen.
She would be the lead singer because she's the best looking out of all of us.
Okay.
He's the bass player because no one cares. And then he's playing the keyboards.
Oh, the Moog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I get a keytar?
Yes. You can have a guitar.
You can be like Munoz, bro.
You can have whatever you want because the keyboard doesn't matter.
Woo!
Yeah.
And the bass players are just... boom, boom, boom,
That's
boom,
true
boom,
freedom,
boom, boom.
Nico. That's true freedom.
Before we get going, though, Corey
I have
DLG,
the
why don't
best
you
job.
tell the world about our friends, Space Cadets Gaming?
Now that school's over,
School's back.
School's back.
Scratch.
So is school back?
Hold on, time travel.
Yeah.
Rewind.
Tell our friends, Corey
Control
DLG.
see that.
Hey, Corey, tell our friends about Space Cadets Gaming.
Now that summer's over and school's started back up, when the kids need out of the house, they should go to Space Cadets Gaming. With comic books, collectible card games, board games, role-playing games, and toys, all in a family-friendly atmosphere, what more could a person ask for? Space Cadets Gaming has Friday Night Magic and various events every day and especially on the weekends. Dungeons & Dragons, Family Game Night, and various other events are regularly scheduled at Space Cadets Gaming on Robinson Road, allegedly in Oak Ridge.
They also have...
Allegedly. I think it's the Woodlands.
They also have
agree.
one of my new
Thank
favorite
you.
games, Munchkins. They
That's
have
pretty fun.
tons of variations. You saw us play that earlier this week, or last week, on the
Nerd Thug Roleplay.
Nerd Thug Roleplay. Which
Real
we'll get in.
Nerd Thug fans saw it.
We'll get into that later in the show. But speaking of YouTube and stuff we talked about at the opening, something interesting that you have stumbled across.
Yeah, so you know me. I'm everywhere. I'm plugged
Still
in.
same LG, but I've been low key.
Yeah. Been in the lab with a pen and a pad trying to get this label off. Anyway, PewDiePie did it again.
What a horrible
Wah, wah,
name.
wah.
Right.
What a great but bad name.
Right,
Like,
so-
everyone knows that name now.
Everyone knows the name now.
Awful name.
And for those who
Awful.
don't know the name now, we just said everyone knows the name. What he is, he's perhaps one of the most famous and successful YouTubers. He is the leader of that industry, essentially. He's one of the main faces of that industry. One of the few YouTubers who you could just say PewDiePie and non-YouTube people,
Oh, yeah.
it'll ring in their
I
head.
know
They'll be like, why do I know that? What is that? And so what he does is he does a lot of critiques and reviews and live streaming of gaming and things of those natures.
Right.
And he's become, in a lot of ways, a controversial figure because he occasionally says some things that have gotten him in some trouble.
Right.
And when you're one of the leading figures with these YouTube things, YouTube will make broad changes that affect whole genres
Genre.
because of it. Wrestling
Right.
famously, what was the name of the group?
What Culture Pro Wrestling.
And so they decided that simulated violence no longer should receive paid
Right.
money for advertising, things like that. That took out a whole revenue stream for them. They had to redo their whole business plan.
Now they do it on Twitch.
And now they do it on Twitch, but they had to completely redo
And the
what they
Fight
were
app.
doing. Right. And then they joined the Fight app as a direct response
Mm-hmm.
of YouTube essentially pulling the plug on a massive revenue stream for them.
They just couldn't monetize off of their videos.
Right. And once
Any
you can't,
longer.
and when you have hundreds of thousands of subscribers
Yeah.
and stuff, it affects things like that. And other YouTube personalities have complained. Like every once in a while, one of their videos gets demonetized for a silly reason. But with PewDiePie being such a big public figure, when he does something like this, what he did, he was in the middle of live streaming a game where he was playing and he dropped the N-word.
And he's a white guy.
He's a white guy. I
That's
don't
a
think it
no-no.
matters. Well,
That is
I
a
guess it does
no-no.
matter. But I was just saying it doesn't
Can't do
matter.
that.
You can't do that. You can't drop the N-word. And
No.
so immediately there were repercussions. Immediately.
Right.
There was a game company, a game producing company, that then immediately started trying to figure out if they could have their content removed from his videos, which would affect his revenue
Because they
stream.
didn't want to be affiliated with him.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And you doing this, part of your career is being a little bit of an internet celebrity. I feel like that's a fair thing to call you.
YouTube, Twitch, stuff like that.
You're a minor big deal. We did Google you to find you.
Thank you.
So kind of, what are your thoughts about all this?
I had one game pulled. It was Dishonored. It was too, I guess, violent because I was chopping everyone's heads off.
Okay.
But,
All right.
That's the only thing I could think of. But I mean, there was things that I wouldn't say on there just to keep it, cool across the board.
Right, which is one of the things that we do.
you know?
When we started Nerd Thug Radio, we tried to find our niche. What can we do? How should we do the show? And very early on, we said to ourselves, we're going to keep this PG as possible, as clean as possible, because comics are a family thing.
It's for everyone.
And you can reach way more people.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like if you can find a little niche, that's cool. But when you get so big like PewDiePie is, and you have sponsors, you have to be very careful. Just us in general, we have a big sponsor, Space Cadets Gaming,
and they give us feedback on content.
There's a couple.
Now they don't tell us what to do, and that's something that you always want to toe that line. You want to have a relationship with your sponsor where they can give you feedback but not control content, and that's something that we have a great relationship with BMAC and Gaming, so we're not worried about that. But you do have to be aware of that,
right? Because he'll definitely tell me, he's like, hey,
you guys had a conversation about this, and that's not something I would like to hear in my store when I play you guys.
Right. It's like, you know what, you're right. And so you have to toe that line a little bit.
But maybe PewDiePie is just thinking he's too big for britches right
I think it's a lot of that.
I definitely think so, too.
So,
go ahead.
Just offer a little opinion here. It definitely is reprehensible that he decided to use the N-word. And looking at his apology video, if you were to believe him, that he's remorseful for what happened and that he absolutely does not endorse that kind of behavior. After the internet lit him on fire.
Right.
For the second time.
Right. That's the other problem.
This ain't the first time,
Exactly. You can make a mistake, and we've had mistakes on the air. We're not perfect either. You can make a mistake, but if you make the same mistake a couple of times, you're not making a mistake. You have a habit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And if you're that comfortable with saying that word.
Right. Like you forgot the camera was on you so much that you dropped a typical word for you. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, because he was like, sometimes I forget I'm live streaming.
Which definitely means that he says it, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you take that?
You could probably infer that he does say it off the stream.
Because you're not going to, not to interrupt, but you wouldn't say something like, I didn't realize the camera was on me if it was something you never say.
Right. It seems like it's like in his vocabulary.
Right.
Yeah, unless you want to try
streaming.
Right. That doesn't mean I never say it. That means I don't say it when I live stream.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, I think there's a difference between sponsors pulling out and not wanting to do business with them, like what happened the first time, and the second part where the developer wanted to try to pull the gameplay video from his footage. Because one of the issues with YouTube is false copyright strikes, and you can't use the DCMA like that to try to squash somebody's content because you don't like it. That's abusing the copyright system, and there are plenty of YouTubers that have to.
I don't know that I agree with that, though, because the copyright is designed to protect the integrity of the work. So if, let's say you made, Disney is notorious for this. They dangerously protect their ownership of characters and things like that.
Yeah.
So, when people try and do adult cartoons with the Disney characters, Disney actively seeks that out. And there's a story, it might be an urban legend, but I actually think this is a true story somewhere. Where, is that all urban legends?
Yes.
It's a true story somewhere.
Right.
It was a high school prom that was Disney themed.
And they pulled the plug on it?
And they showed up the day before the prom because one of the lawyers accidentally found out about it. And they made them change the whole prom because they were using unlicensed images of the Disney characters.
Right. Pull the plug.
Right. And so, I mean, I know what you're saying is that if you create something with something else, but when you're using other people's copyrighted material, you have to be mindful of their wishes because there is open source copyright. So there is a form of copyright that people, the fair use copyright, right, Nico?
It's fair use. A lot of what's used on YouTube is protected under fair use.
No, I mean, there's a specific form of copyright where basically people say, I'm copyrighting this so that you can't profit from it, but I don't mind if you do free stuff with it. But then there's another copyright that most for-profit entities do, which is copyright, which is anytime I don't like what you're doing with my content, I will police
video.
It. Right.
Yeah. So the question is now, assuming you are able to legally DCMA somebody and try to pull the content, what is that threshold? Because there have been instances in which content creators didn't like what somebody said about their movie, and they try to issue copyright strikes against that.
I think as long as it's not offending anyone necessarily.
Well, here's the thing. If you're a reviewer of things, it used to be back in the day there was only one media, right? It was newspaper.
Yes.
So newspaper critics then kind of transitioned to TV. But even if you're giving a bad review of something, if as long as it's a fair review. If you're like, hey, the director isn't strong in directing, so I critique that.
As long as you're not direct slandering it, because
you met the guy one time and he owes you $20.
You gotta be able to back up your statements.
Right.
Well, and like when I was doing my videos, I would critique it, but like in a nice sort of way,
fair way.
Yeah, because I don't want like Xbox to come to me and be like, or PlayStation to be like, hey, we don't want to even have anything to do with you.
Right, you're getting us in trouble with one of our publishers. But I also think if you have a copyright, you can actively protect it. I mean, it doesn't have to be the right reason for you to say, don't touch my copyright. Yeah. It can be because you own it.
Don't touch my copyright.
It's private.
Now how the public treats you for that is different. Prince was notorious for pulling all of his copyrighted stuff off. However, he got into a bit of a stink because he did a cover of Creep at a concert. Someone filmed it. The guy from Creep, and I'm forgetting his name, but the lead singer who's the big deal, he's all about open source everything. So the user emailed him, and somehow it got to him, and he emailed YouTube and was like, hey, that's actually my copyrighted song. It's free to be up there anytime it wants to be. I don't pull my copyrights. Right. And so YouTube got stuck between Prince and Radiohead.
Wow.
Right. That's just crazy.
So to me, we went on a great little tangent here, but
we're up against the break, so wrap it up.
So in summation, you got to be careful what you say because this could influence everything. Because if YouTube starts feeling like, well, we can't have these people talking about video games and saying whatever they want, because in the gaming culture, language is an issue. It really is.
Yeah, it definitely plays a huge part on that,
especially when you're playing online.
And some people are, and they say they say inappropriate and awful and very terrible things. You hear it on the TV, you hear it in the videos. If the copyright people start getting worried about that and the images it portrays next to their hard paid-for material, it's going to become an issue and it's going to cost a lot of people money. And so people like PewDiePie need to be more responsible.
More aware.
When you're in the public eye, you have to be responsible.
You got to be careful what you do. Everyone's watching you. Everyone's waiting for that chance for you to slip up.
Yep.
So let's slip up to a break right now. When we come back, we're going to get into the ever so famous Casual Sexy Gamer segment.
Whoop.
You're listening to Nerd Thug Radio.
I think we did